Welcome to Beatsource Tech. My name is Mojaxx and I've just got a quick episode for you today. We're looking at the new 2.9 version of SoundSwitch. For those of you who are unaware, SoundSwitch is lighting software which links into DJ software to provide synchronized light shows for your music, connecting to DMX fixtures as well as Nanoleaf and Philips Hue. In general, you run it on your DJ laptop in tandem with your DJ software, but it also has a foot in the standalone world. Export your SoundSwitch project along with your music in Engine, and Engine OS devices like the Denon DJ Prime series can then run your lighting too, no computer required. For me, the real draw of the software always seemed to be the custom light shows you could script for each of your tracks, which is a unique feature, and most of the recent updates have focused on making that process smoother. But I also keep an eye on the SoundSwitch user Facebook group, and I've noticed that a lot of SoundSwitch users actually seem to prefer using the Autoloops feature instead, where you create a series of lighting loops which will work with any track you play, just synchronized to the BPM. Using those, you can still get plenty of really dynamic, interesting light shows, but you don't need to spend hours perfecting a specific script for each track. Well, the developers have obviously noticed that trend too, as the new 2.9 update offers some real workflow improvements for lovers of auto loops. This comes on top of the ability to automatically script those loops, which debuted back in version 2.7. Firstly, they've expanded the number of them. Previously there were 32 in total, but in this version they've quadrupled that number with 4 banks of 32, making 128 in total. If you're coming from an older version, there's an option to populate the empty slots automatically. Secondly, you can now rearrange the order of loops and move them between banks, and you can also quickly duplicate them to make the editing process faster. They've improved the visual feedback too. There's a progress bar on the auto loops in performance mode, and they've enhanced the visual feedback on the Control 1, so if you use that hardware, it's easier to see which auto loop is playing. And you can trigger auto loops at any time now, overriding a scripted track. One time when you'll definitely need to take advantage of auto loops, even if you habitually script your tracks, is if you're doing lights for another DJ or a live act and you don't have that link to the DJ software. Previously, you could utilize Ableton Link or dial in a BPM manually, which was okay, but in 2.9 there's a new way of working, BPM Detection. This picks up the BPM from audio in a number of ways, via a USB audio interface, a virtual audio cable, or even via the built-in microphone on your computer. I tested this in the lab in a couple of ways, using a line input from a Reloop Flux interface and via the built-in mic on my MacBook Pro, and the results were pretty solid. You'll need to tweak the input level to make sure the software has the best chance to get it right, and depending on the type of music, you may wish to adjust how often it samples the audio to detect the BPM, but overall I'm really impressed. The only addition I'd like to see would be the ability to reset the downbeats manually to just nudge things back into the correct timing if needed. But combining this feature with the larger number and improved accessibility of auto loops, and you've got a version of SoundSwitch which is much more useful in a wider variety of settings. There are a couple of other bits in 2.9, like changes to the user interface to show more clearly what the software is connected to, and they've updated the MIDI feedback on Akai devices and added support for the APC Mini Mark II. All in all, this one is a definite upgrade for all SoundSwitch users. So there you go, a quick look at the new 2.9 version of SoundSwitch. The thing I really love about this update is that it reflects the developers really picking up on ways that their users prefer to work with the software. Back when I first looked at SoundSwitch years ago, I really thought that the scripted tracks would be the main focus of the workflow. But it turns out, lots of people really like using auto loops instead, and so SoundSwitch has evolved to make their lives easier. Overall, this is another solid update here from the team, and if you are a SoundSwitch user, you should go ahead and get it installed right away. In the comments, let us know your thoughts on this new update and tell us what other new features you'd like to see coming to SoundSwitch in the future. Thanks for watching this episode of Beatsource Tech. I do hope you've enjoyed it or found it useful. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you've turned on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you next time.